thanks very much, Louise, and thanks, Sister Roseanne, for your kind words, and also thanks for inviting us here. You know, this is not really our thing. We're more behind the camera where we can edit what we say, so we're very much unplugged, so it's at your risk, okay? But it's actually, I'm really honoured to be here and actually spend time with some young people. Some I know, some I don't know, so that's quite good as well. But a lot of you do know Brian and myself, but outside of the work that we do for the church, Brian and myself have a very, very common love for genealogy. So we love doing our family trees, we love finding out exactly where we come from. So very recently, I bowed to pressure and bought one of those ancestry DNA tests. So people on my Facebook will probably see the results of this, but I got my results back, and can anybody guess my heritage? You have a guess?
Celtic.
Yeah, that's a fair bet, yeah. Fair bet. Any other? Not you, you've seen it. But anyway, so I got them back, and I was 70% Scottish and Irish. It doesn't break down the mix. I was, and I've got it here because it's quite recent, I was 20% Baltic states. That's not any skeletons in the cupboard. My grandmother is from Lithuania, so that wasn't a surprise, right? I am 2% Russian. So that's a dodgy bit. I don't know where that gene came from, probably from the Baltic states. And surprisingly, I'm 1% European Jew. So that was very interesting, you know. So I know I speak very, very fast, so sometimes it sounds like I'm speaking Yiddish, but I'm not actually Jewish. But you know, it kind of got me thinking about how we identify ourselves. You know, how do we identify ourselves? Is it our ancestors? Is it our nationalities, or is it our football teams? You know, I see a Celtic colour over there just now, and you think, you know, in the west of Scotland, it seems to be the predominant way of identifying ourselves, you know. But I think, you know, the story for all of us here is that we identify most strongly with our Catholic faith, and that is a precious gift. That faith, think of our ancestors, was passed down through severe hardships. You know, I'm not just talking about Ireland; I'm talking about Scotland as well, because this country at one point was the place that built great abbeys and cathedrals and universities, and then it was forced underground at the Reformation. It was forced under harsh penal laws, and the same in Ireland as well. My ancestors and Brian's ancestors, we're both cousins, by the way, in case you don't know, came from Ireland, and they suffered so much to bring down the one thing that mattered most to them. That was their faith. That was their Catholic faith. So for me, that's how I want to frame our discussion today about social media work and being a young Catholic in the 21st century. Is we're in the present day, yeah, but don't forget about the past. Don't forget where we came from as people. I think nowadays people are trying to undermine identities and play down who we are, because who we are as children of God, basically, and don't let that ever be denied. So the big question though as well, I'm trying to kind of merge this into one speech, because we're talking about young Catholics and we're trying to talk about our Sancta Familia story as well. So, but where did Sancta Familia come from? And you know, I was talking to Bishop John Keenan, who'd been a great spiritual support for us in the past year or so, 2 years, and he said to me something that was funny. You know, he said, "You came from nowhere." I was like, you know, he's right in a sense. We've kind of rapidly risen out of nowhere, but have we really come from nowhere? Not really. You know, the true story is that we've come from a parish in Mossend. Now, people call us various names. They call us, you know, Sagrada Familia. They can't quite get Sancta Familia, I don't know why. Sagrada Familia, I've had Sancta Familia, I've had Sacra Maria, I've had, I don't know, what we called, Michael Robson calls it Ant and Dec of Scottish Catholic media. So, but no, there'll be no drink driving amongst us anyway, so don't do that. But the place, you know, the name comes from, if anyone doesn't know, the Latin translation of Holy Family Mossend. So that is the parish of our childhood. That's the parish where both Brian and I grew up, and it's a place that we both call our spiritual home. So if anyone's been in Holy Family Mossend, you realise how elegant and how beautiful and how nice a church building that is. And of course that is down to also our ancestors who had zeal for the Lord. They had zeal to build a place that was worthy for him. And you know, they didn't have 2 pennies to rub together. Not at all. They were poor. You know, probably didn't have enough to feed themselves. But they wanted that house, they wanted that place for the Blessed Sacrament, and a place worthy to celebrate the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass. That's what they wanted. So for me, the bedrock against all the stuff we do is the beauty and the spirituality that we found in our parish church or our hometown, you know. But, you know, I think God has a plan for all of us, what we do, no matter what our talents are and what it is. And Admittedly, I'm not trained in filmmaking, I'm not trained in social media, I'm not trained in public speaking either. But my background is in modern languages at the University of Glasgow. I studied French and Spanish, graduated there in 2013, and then I did a postgrad in translation in 2014. Brian studied computing at the University of Scotland and graduated, when did you graduate? 2015. But at that time, Catholic media work was very, very far from our minds. We didn't really think this was going to happen to us, you know. But the seeds of that vocation were there long ago. In fact, only on hindsight do we realise that it was there. So, in 2006, one bored summer in Moss End, you know, we're messing about. Brian and I got a wee camera of very bad quality, but anyway, we got a camera, and we started making videos called Mal Tim Movies. So we took the Malin, very inventive Malin, Timmins, bunged it together, right? Someone says it sounds like a disease, but anyway, so. But these were posted to a new video website called YouTube. So, you know, no one knew about YouTube in those days. So what we're going to do is we're going to show, this might be the end, the make or break of everything. This is an exclusive, right? This has never been seen, these videos, in 15 years, okay? So, if you don't know who I am in the video, I'm the guy who was 5 stone less at that time. So, Ryan's going to try and get it up, and we'll see how it goes, and I'm going to eject somewhere. It's been 5 minutes long, so we can.
now inside the studio. Oh my God. 2, 1. Sunglasses on. All the history of Malta. Never in my life have I seen this before. Don't worry folks back home, I'm alright. I survived the explosion. The building's gone behind me, and everyone's been clear, but I was taken aback by that explosion.
It goes all downhill from here now, basically. So that's how we spent our childhood. You know, just having fun. And I think really part of the point of showing that, apart from embarrassing myself forever, is that it shows that we lived a normal life. You know, I don't know how convinced you are now, but we lived a normal kind of life. And so we weren't running about dressing up in costumes. We swapped that for our altar servers, Alds in Moss End at Holy Family. And we've very, very fond memories serving under Father Grant, who remains our parish priest this day. And that was kind of entry into the church. For most people, it was serving at the altar, so we both served together. And in 2009, it was the 125th anniversary of our parish. I thought, you know, maybe we could take her things we've picked up with the wee camera there and maybe put something together for the church. So, maybe make a DVD for the 125th of the parish, the church building it was at that time. And it was great. It really fomented in me a deep love of my own parish community. You know, we interviewed a 100-year-old woman who was born in 1909 at the time, and that was really amazing. You know, she was born before the war. We interviewed families and people. We also interviewed a rather famous man called Billy McNeil. You know him? That was really good as well. You know, going to his house and seeing that, and you know, it was just incredibly moving to hear how they had a shared love of God and of their parish and of their history and of their whole community. So that DVD was widely loved by the community as well, and that was our first break, you know, and it kind of flicked a wee switch in my mind. Maybe I want to do this, you know, maybe I want to do something that's going to share how I see the church and how I see the community. And, you know, after that, 2009, it was a kind of fallow period. We went to university, I was abroad, and I returned from Spain and France. I was still kind of, you know, looking to be involved in the church. I was still at parish level, and it was, you know, life starts to mature, and your friends from school who are Catholic were now in that bracket of cultural Catholics, a lot of them, and they left the church. I'm kind of thinking, well, where'd I go? Believe it or not, I was actually quite shy, so I didn't really get fully involved in Turnbull Hall at Glasgow. You know, I went to mass and things, but I didn't really, you know, I didn't feel the connection to go to meetings and meet up. It was probably, if I look back now, I probably would go, because it's really vibrant and really great. But it was, you know, I had some kind of basic involvement with the Motherwell Youth Diocese. I think it was under Elizabeth Murphy at the time, and they were great people. They were all older than me, and it seemed that their priorities at that time were marriage and vocations. And I was only about 20, 19, so that wasn't really high on my list. Still, it really isn't high on my list, to be honest. But at that time, Facebook was coming out, and I started to get more involved. Facebook pages and things. And I thought, you know, I'm going to start following some Catholic pages. And the first one I got was Catholic memes. I'm sure you all know of Catholic memes. And I was a maniac sharing Catholic memes. I'm pretty sure a lot of my friends blocked me or deleted me because I was sharing them that much. But that was something inside me that was saying, I need to share this faith I've got. I need to evangelise. So, but as I say, it was very much parish level. But we were kind of spoiled at Holy Family. We still kind of are. With Father Grant's keen love of liturgy and devotion to liturgy, you know. And I absolutely loved serving benedictions on Sunday nights. And for me, there was something just dead profound about the incense and the Tantum Ergum we had in there tonight, and the incense going up and Father Grant, the way he did it. And I just kind of imagined back to my ancestors, imagined being gathered with them, spiritually speaking, and how they were united with the Lord, or Eucharistic Lord. And it just took me back to a whole time, a whole longing of the church's great traditions. I wanted, you know, to deepen and explore. But, you know, as well, those events there was maybe 3 or 4 people were there, 4 or 5 people on a Sunday night. I loved them. I thought, how do we get people into this event? And we had Brian and I were running the parish Facebook website at the time. I thought, why don't we film this? Because that's something I want to try and bring to people. If I can bring to them, well, not take them physically, but take that video to them and put it on the page, they might think, I want to come and see that and experience it, because it really was beautiful. It's a lovely setting as well. So that, at that point in time though, websites were coming a bit old hat. They were coming static and people weren't visiting them, and there was Facebook, seemed to be social media was going the way forward. So, and it all kind of changed when one of our servers, Megan Curran, said to Father Grant, why do we get Facebook? And Father Grant, in his great wisdom, said, yeah, why not? So that's how the Facebook started. So, and Brian will bring you more about the story from there onwards. So, pass you on, Brian.
Thank you.
So as if I'm not embarrassed enough after that video was on, I'm probably the colour of the wall behind me, but never mind, we'll push on anyway. So, as John said, we started the parish Facebook page, and that was in December 2015. And that really was the vehicle then that launched Sancta Familia Media. So, as John also said, we'd produced videos for the church before, the anniversary DVD in 2009, and that been on the parish website for years actually before that. And again, I'm repeating what John said, but websites are very static. People don't go to websites to find, they don't go to a website and then stumble across, videos and content. You tend to go to a website to look for something in particular, like rotas or mass times or, something like that. But the difference with Facebook was that offered something much different. That offered the ability to put church content directly in front of people when they weren't exactly seeking it out. So after we had the go-ahead from Father Grant, John, Megan, who John mentioned there, and myself, we decided to set up the parish Facebook page under Holy Family Moss End, and then within a few hours we'd reached 100 followers, which at the time we thought was incredible, in such a short space of time, a few hours actually. So we began posting videos on there quite soon afterwards. I think one of the first, if I'm right, was a time-lapse of the church, just something quite simple of sunset over the church, and that got quite a number of views. So we moved on to film all the Christmas masses. This was December, so we filmed all the Christmas masses, and then our patronal feast day when Bishop Nolan came to celebrate Mass in the church. So these all were gathering quite a lot of views and comments, and that spurred us on to then decide, well, this is going quite well, let's film some more. So we're both interested, John's mentioned genealogy, we're both interested in local history, so we thought it might be quite an interesting idea to produce some videos that explain local history or the history of several local areas, but in a Catholic context. So we began filming scenes for a series which we called Dash Around the Diocese, and this was probably the first indication to us of how powerful Facebook can actually be, when these gathered over 1,000 views virtually overnight, and our follower count just went rapidly rose within days from that. So it wasn't then until April 2016 that we thought it might be a good idea to put a name behind our videos, and we then decided on Sancta Familia Media, that being obviously the Latin name for our own home parish in Moss End. We then created a logo, which many of you will be familiar with from many of our videos, and we began using that in all of our videos. So it was around about that time again that we decided to break out from our parish, and we thought the best place to do that would be go to Carfine Grotto, and we filmed a procession there, which also went down very well online. So around about that time as well, we wanted to get a bit more help. We were using maybe one or two cameras. We thought we'd get a few more cameras. We got some help from Megan, again from the parish, and another girl, Rebecca, and another cousin as well of myself and John, Thomas, and he still helps us out from time to time, comes along and gives us a hand. So the summer of 2016 was an incredibly busy time for us. We'd been filming so much in the parish that we decided to say to Father Grant, is it okay if we use a room in the parish centre to store our tripods? And he agreed. He says, yeah, that's fine, just put them there. I'm not quite sure that he realised at that particular time that we were effectively going to move into the parish centre, as we're now there pretty much from first thing in the morning to last thing at night, every day of the week. I think though he probably did get the hint when we started carrying in furniture. I think he maybe spotted us from the window and thought, what are they doing? But never mind, we're there now, and we've got a lot to thank Father Grant for, our parish priest, for being so accommodating and generous and really supporting us right from the very beginning. But anyway, I think nowadays it can be quite difficult for young people to get involved in their parish. Say 40 or 50 years ago, certainly in our home parish in Moss End, we are fully aware that there were many Catholic youth groups, and a lot of opportunities for Catholics to gather together, young Catholics especially, within their parish context. And that a lot of young people's social lives in the parish revolved around their parish community, and that was their social life. And again, as John mentioned, we were both altar servers for many years in the parish, and I very reluctantly left around about the time that I graduated, so I felt probably getting a bit too old for it. There were a lot of younger people in the parish coming through, and I thought that it might be good to just give them the chance to come and move in. So I think really after I left altar serving, it was really that gap between that and then forming Sancta Familia Media that I felt kind of distanced from the parish community really. Because every single week since I began altar serving in 2003, I'd served Mass every week, met up with this group of altar servers who really were friends. We'd go out different places, together as a group of friends, but we're all united by our Catholic faith. So I think that's probably why it's so important that clergy and religious sisters do all they can to encourage young people to be as involved as they can in their parish community, and to actually give them the opportunities to come together with other like-minded young people. I know that if Father Grant hadn't been so supportive of us, I think now 3 years on really from when we started Sancta Familia, I'd still be coming to Mass every Sunday, but I wouldn't really be involved in the parish in any way, or even the wider church in any other form. But one of the things that was quite encouraging in 2016 was that 3 parishes in the local area formed a youth group together, and that gave us the opportunity to travel out to Krakow for World Youth Day, which I'm sure a few people here were at and would agree that it's an absolutely incredible and amazing experience. But this really was a great opportunity for us as starting out filming things to film this and then put it across online. And it was just an incredible experience to see so many people from countries all across the world coming together, united in that Catholic faith. So we filmed every single day. We put out daily diaries of every day of World Youth Day, trying to cover as much footage as we can. And we ended up, I think, staying up to about 1 o'clock in the morning every single night, trying to get these out the next day to build up a bit of momentum behind it. And I think really it's because mainstream media often ignore these events, and sometimes you'll just get one small article on the bottom of a newspaper or somewhere online hidden away, detailing something like this, just a massive gathering of young people, which often goes pretty much unnoticed really. So I think that really for us was probably a turning point. We realised that as young Catholics, that social media there had this enormous power to show the true beauty and vibrancy of the Catholic Church to a wide audience. So as the months went on, people were beginning to ask us to film more and post events, and our online following continued to grow. So we began to produce short, round about 1 to 2 minute reflections on each Sunday's Gospel, and that's led by different priests all around the diocese and sisters. Although we did say 1 to 2 minutes, although we always have to stress that, because priests, sisters as well to some extent, have a tendency to kind of run on a bit. So what is it they say? They say there's a fine line between a long sermon and a hostage situation. So that's well and good when you're in a parish church or at something, but online, if you have a 10-minute video, it's not going to be a hostage situation. People will just switch off, they disappear. You won't keep people's attention. But this was one thing that we felt was a really, really good way of bringing priests and sisters from the entire community, the entire country and beyond, out there to such a wide audience. Because often I think people are in their own parish, they know their own parish priest, they might know 1 or 2 religious sisters, 1 or 2 other priests that they've met, but they don't know, a lot of the clergy across the country. So we thought this was a great way of, bringing that all together, and bringing all these priests and religious, before quite a large crowd online. So we were now committed really to producing videos every single day. So we're producing more than one video every single day. And that was quite challenging because we were both still working full time at this point in time. So really, that's when we started to discuss the possibility of actually quitting our job and saying, right, maybe there's something here, maybe we could do this full time. That was probably those first seeds. This might be a vocation that we could take up, or a calling. I had a well-paid graduate job in computing at that time, so it doesn't really sound like a logical move to say, yes, I quit, and then try and do something that is so unpredictable and untested. But although I didn't really think of it as a vocation at that point in time, I think often you have to make that leap of faith, so to speak, make those difficult decisions to actually find your calling in life, and actually fulfill your God-given vocation, even though it might not be completely clear to you. So we both quit our jobs then, and we formally registered Sancta Familia Media as a company. So we were now in December 2016, and we had plenty of time on our hands then to devote as much time as we could to our video work. At that point, I think we decided to launch a Christmas food bank appeal, as we thought we can spread the word on this quite wide around the community on Facebook, and get a lot of people involved in it. We actually ran this again last year, and we're planning to run it again this year because it was very successful. We got a lot of donations, to that. But we thought it might be a good idea to involve the other local churches in the community and work together to make sure that anyone in need that winter had plenty of food, plenty of essentials. But I think really the reason I mention that is I think that's a great example of how the church can use social media to reach out to people, not just this online presence, but actually have a physical impact in their life. And it really shows a kind of, a power behind that. But I think before I go on any further, I'll put on a montage of clips from the last year or so, and you can have a look at it.
No, that's it.
So that was just a selection of clips from that first year, from 2016 to 2017, just to give you an idea, of the kind of things we were covering then. So we entered 2017 then, and thankfully the work kept coming. And I think it was actually Sister Roseanne that kept us going throughout that year. Yep, with her series of 50 videos, which was quite something to film. Yeah. And that was a video every single week, and it was answering.
I insisted in paying you.
You did.
On time.
On time as well.
Really cool.
The church tend to not like to pay people quickly. So, Sister Roseanne was great for that. But these videos were answering common questions on the topic of abortion, and they did get a great response online. Again, I think it's that idea of drip feed. So every single week, people, it was keeping the issue in people's minds, and keeping that up over a long period of time. But I also have to say, Bishop Toll, our own bishop in Motherwell Diocese, was very, very supportive of us as well from the start. He actually decided to arrange to meet up with us every week or so, every few weeks, and he would discuss all the kind of important things that were happening in the diocese, whatever that we should cover and put online. So although our videos were generally very well received in the first year, we knew that they had to kind of greatly improve in quality, and that meant that we kind of had to invest heavily in equipment and software and things like that. Came at quite a cost, but thankfully due to some commissions we'd had earlier on, Sister Roseanne, we managed to afford that somehow. So we then moved on and we produced a few videos on Catholic know-how. So the second of these was published in January 2017, and it was on the topic of church etiquette. I'm not sure if anybody's seen it here, a few people have probably seen that one. And this was what we'd probably claim as our first viral video. And to date it's gained over 500,000 views online. And since it was published, it had quite a bit of media attention. It actually appeared on BBC News. I think it was Christmas Day. Christmas Day of all days, it appeared on BBC News. Yeah. So it appeared on BBC News, and actually John as well was invited to speak on Irish radio about it. So it just shows you the kind of reach that can get. So 2017 continued to be a great year for the Church in Scotland. We had 5 ordinations to the priesthood in the Motherwell Diocese alone, and we also got to cover Sister Stacey's final vows as a religious sister, which was fantastic. At Carfem we also had Consecration of Scotland to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, and we got to travel the country visiting Iona for the 900th anniversary of St Magnus. I also was very privileged to get the opportunity to travel out to Uganda at that point in time with Missio Scotland, and that really was an unforgettable experience for me, just to see how the missionary work the church does across the country. It was incredible. It was really moving really to see the huge impact it has, especially in the life of young people in these countries. And it's all down to the help and the work of these missionary charities, whom a lot of these projects just wouldn't happen without them. I think one of the most moving experiences I had from a visit to Uganda was we visited a school for deaf children, and these children were often abandoned by their families. Their families either wouldn't want to afford them. They see them, their culture there, they see them as a bad omen in the family because of the disability, and they either hide them away in their houses, hide them away in their homes, or in this case what they were doing is they were leaving their children at this school, the gates of this school, so they didn't have to pay for them, and basically abandoning them. And that was something that was just really, really moving, to see. But I think the thing there was, despite the struggles that these children went through, they were full of happiness and joy. So it was a really moving experience that I'll certainly never forget. And again, without having taken that leap of faith in the first place, leaving my job and forming Sancta Familia Media, I'd never have had such an experience. So I'm very thankful that, and very, very thankful to Missio who made that possible. So in 2017, our Facebook page hit the milestone of 10,000 followers, which we were absolutely amazed at. Really, we couldn't believe it at all. We never ever thought when we started this that we'd get anywhere near that. And on that occasion, we thought it'd be fun to put together some videos of some bloopers that we got from. Put it to the end, right? I'll put it to the end. But so we had some bloopers there. So what we'll do is we'll show you them at the end. So that involved drone crashes and light fails and falls and other bizarre scenes. We've cut a lot of them out because they're probably not. People will probably get quite angry if we showed them, but we'll keep that to the end. I think it's time to embarrass some other people instead of ourselves. So thankfully, 2018 to date has also proved to be a very busy year for us. We ran the Rosary on the Coast event with a few other people, and that saw tens of thousands of people gathering all around the coast of the country to pray for faith, life and peace. We also have worked closely with Justice and Peace Scotland, SPUC, Friends of Divine Mercy, and some of the Catholic chaplaincies in the university, which give us really a great hope for the future in the Church of Scotland when you visit these places. Over the last year, we also got an amazing opportunity to work on a large documentary to mark 100 years of Catholic state education in Scotland. And as part of this, we got to meet lots of people. We got to meet various politicians. We got to meet the First Minister. We got to meet Mark Miller from Marvel Comics and Kieran Tierney. And a wide range of students from all the way from primary 1 right the way up to 6th year at high school. Really, I think that was a great chance to hear from many pupils across Scotland. I know earlier there was discussions about Catholic schools, but in terms of vocations to religious life, while we were going through all these schools, I think there was only one boy out the whole of Scotland, out of all those who we interviewed. We asked them, what they want to be when they grow up or whatever, and I think there was only one boy that said, "I want to become a priest." So that really kind of got me thinking about how young people find their vocations in life, whatever that may be, whether it be the religious life, married life, or whatever else. And I think, when people ask me about Sancta Familia Media, I always kind of say we actually started by accident. We didn't intend to start it. We didn't initially set out to work in Catholic media, it just kind of happened. But that kind of leads you to think that God is behind your vocation in life. Working through, God works through the support that other people give you, the encouragement other people give you. And that takes me right back, to the importance of that invitation that, parish priests or other people in your parish community actually put out to young people and invite them to be involved in the parish, as it might actually be the start of their own journey to find their own vocation in life. So I'll pass you back over to John and finish off there.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Brian, there. Also, I'm waiting for time and probably the urgent need for everyone to go to the bar, which has been stalled by Robert out there. But I'll just kind of wrap up, okay? So, obviously, Brian's pointed out the last 3 years, and what is clear is our growth is not just our own ability, but it's the fact that it's a vocation, it's a call to evangelise at a time when we really do need it most. I mean, let's be honest, realistically, we young people know someone who is a lapsed Catholic, yeah? And for me personally, I'm very worried. Maybe I shouldn't be worried because that's kind of, maybe that shows a lack of faith in some sense, but I'm worried about the state of the church for the next 50 years. I'm thinking, well, my parish that I love so deeply, I don't see many young people of certain ages. I see young families, then there's this gap generation, then there's old people. So I'm kind of worried, will this continue? And there are grounds for hope. We're seeing grounds for hope. We're seeing grounds for hope tonight as well. And perhaps this worry, this doubt is unfounded because we know the church will never die. The gates of hell will never prevail. But that vision is not. It might not be Scotland. It might not be in Spain. It might not be in Europe. We don't know how that's going to pan out. This gates of hell not prevailing. So, really, this final bit is really a call for all of you here to. How do we play a part? Because Scotland is becoming mission territory. I don't know, I'm sure there's figures somewhere about people believing in God, but I think the majority now don't believe in God. And we all do. So what are we doing as young Catholics to play a part in making that message to people? And that's what we see part of our job on social media. Of course, the church isn't a business in the sense that its success shouldn't be measured by numbers or terms of profit or wealth or attendance, but rather the strength of our own faith and how we do it. And are we doing enough to reach out to lapsed Catholics? Are we having those conversations? I don't know. We have to ask that question ourselves. I have to ask that question of myself every single day, especially with my friends who are lapsed Catholics as well. And we're reaching out to people of other faiths. For me, that seems to have dried up a wee bit. That might sound in some quarters controversial, but we believe in Christ. So it's the greatest mercy of all to give the truth of Christ to other religions. And we're in this kind of territory where we can't say, can't offend. We're not aiming to offend. We're aiming to show love by bringing people to Christ. And that's what we want to do. And talk about, hopefully I'll try and bring it to a more positive note, but on social media as well, is our example as young people giving the best example? Because, you know, we're at the coalface of comments and debates and things, and are we putting ourselves into camps? Are we doing that? Because that's not what we are. We're one church, one people. So for me, sometimes I see that people are very zealous, and sometimes that zealousness, or is that the word zealousness, bubbles over into discussion, debate. But for people on the outside of that, they're thinking, why do I want to be a part of a church where everyone's arguing with each other? You know, that to me is not good. I think we should be building each other up rather than tearing each other down. That to me is key. I think often, you know, we get this quite a lot. We get labelled, you're conservative because you're filming some traditional Latin mass, or you're liberal because you filmed a nuclear weapon thing with justice and peace, or you filmed an immigration thing. And that's to say, we're not in camps. That can encompass everything with being Catholic. That's what Catholic is, universal. All these things. So I'm not even as anybody in here in particular. I'm just saying, you know, in general, I think everyone here probably agrees with me in that, hopefully. But back to social media. Social media can put that gospel message of faith, of hope and love before a person who would never dream of darkening the door of a church in their life, who would be embarrassed, who maybe want to know about it but weren't sure. So that is our aim, really, as online video makers, is to show that extraordinary normality, if we can call it that kind of juxtaposition of words. Because we have to be bold for Christ, we have to use our talents. Now, I'm not saying the greatest video maker in the world, but if you've got a talent, you're a musician, for example, you use your talent for Christ. If you're a writer, write something for Christ. If you're good at cooking, bake a cake for Christ, why not? Do you know what I mean? That's how you evangelise people. So you've got to use the talents that are given by God for the greater glory of God. So, you know, I always like that quote from Pope Benedict that each of us is loved, each of us is called, each of us is necessary, each of us is the direct result of the thought of God. I think that's probably mixed up somehow, that quote, but you get the idea. And for us, really, you know, no matter how hard it can be, no matter how much, you know, I kind of want to hark back to tempted to hark back to a golden age. There wasn't a golden age, never was a golden age. You know, it was always hard to be a Catholic, it was always hard to be a Christian, no matter what the situation we're in. The time we're in is now. We're in this time now for a reason. And you can get despondent, you can say, oh, the church is in disarray, oh, people hate Catholics and we're getting abused. But you know what? We're called for this time. God put us in this time to change the environment we're in, to make a difference, every single one of us here, no matter what we're called to do. So be supportive of each other in these challenges. Be calm with one another and be accepting of other people's different views and opinions. And be bold evangelists. Because, you know, looking back to the past, and our ancestors and things, you think the apostles crossed the seas, they were decapitated, they were spat upon, and closer at home, St. Patrick had to battle the Druids and the Celts, and the rain and the wind. And, well, Pope John Paul II grew up under communism and repression, yet chose the priesthood for a life of devotion and used his papacy to spread the eternal truths of the gospel of life and love. And what do? I wake up in the morning, roll over and update a status. Do you know what I mean? But that on figures, that reaches thousands of people. And in terms of numbers, probably millions. You know, we're now on 27,000 followers this week. We're growing by hundreds every week. But our reach goes beyond that. People who don't like the page are on millions per week. So you know, I'm not up here to try and gloat and say that I'm the best at this or I'm the best Catholic at it. I'm not, far from it. I'm a work in progress, severely a work in progress. So, you know, that should be our life goal, to become saints. And that is fundamentally what it is, to be saved by Jesus, be saved, to go to heaven, to be there. And, you know, I'd rather, thinking back to my ancestors, I'd rather think that, you know, despite the trials and the toils of this age, that we remain steadfast with the support of one another here, like events like these, to spread that faith joyfully, with zeal, with whatever means are available, and so far it seems to be social media today. So I'd like to thank Sister Roseanne for asking us here in Vocation Scotland. So I hope that was useful. I don't know if it was. I hope it was useful, so thanks very much.
Here in the parish of Holy Father, Lost End, our Facebook page has just surpassed 10,000 likes. We believe the first Catholic page in Scotland to do so.
It's been a momentous year, with lots going on, but it's not always been plain sailing, as we're about to find out.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4,
Tom Style on the Grunty TV network. This panel will... implement today is the Rangers annual. Many of my friends are included in this, and I'd like to hear.
The only one who sees the whole picture.
So easy.
Students who drive too fast, to carry and use dangerous weapons, to take illegal and dangerous drugs. Okay, I think.
Let's always remember that it was love that converted the heart of Jesus.
Oh, yes.
So, we have our hands in that.
But God raised the high.
2-1. Not just ordinary man. You people. Somebody there.
What's so funny? What's so funny?
Can I just say a huge big thank you to John and to Brian and to Louise for their presentation. I think Sancta Familia are absolutely amazing. Whenever I go anywhere in the country, down south, people always say, hey, see the guys, they Sancta, you're right, nobody knows what you call it, like Sancta, whatever I say, I'm Sancta Familia. And people down there are so jealous of the fact that up here in Scotland, we have these, because it's not just the fact that you produce stuff, but you produce it really, really well. And I remember when I first got to know you two, and I kept saying, part of the problem with the job is that we're crap at doing stuff, and when I said that, you know, so when you get in a parish who they've got paper tablecloths and they've got rubbish, you know, they plates that are that flimsy that your dinner's all over you. And what you're doing is giving a really good example of something that can be done well, and it reaches millions of people, and that's quite amazing. So keep up the good work, keep supporting them, keep paying them, keep paying for you, because that is a big Catholic thing. Nobody wants to pay you because they think you're just there We have none.